This week's week ahead forecast won't make great viewing for the many of you who are desperate for some much needed rain, especially in England and Wales, or those who are feeling a bit fed up with all the hot weather we've had this summer. High pressure firmly in control at the moment. It is drifting a little bit towards the east, but it's bringing a lot of dry, settled weather for much of the UK, especially for England and Wales this week. Further northwest, away from the high, well, there will be a bit of rain around, but not much on Tuesday. A slight change in our wind direction as that high drifts away towards the east means that temperatures are going to be rising. Now, Monday was a bit fresher than Sunday, yes, but we're going to see temperatures climbing through this week. So Tuesday likely to be a bit warmer than Monday for many places. That high drifts a little bit further eastwards through Wednesday and into Thursday, allowing for some perhaps heavier, maybe even thundery rain to affect parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland in particular. But for England and Wales, we're sticking with the dry theme, and more of a southerly flow means that we're going to get hotter air coming in. Thursday likely to be the hottest day this week, the peak of this heat wave, with temperatures in the mid, possibly even high 30s. More on that in a second. Then towards the end of the week, there may be a weather system coming through, but it's not going to bring a huge amount of rain to many parts of England and Wales. Still quite wet and changeable across parts of the northwest of the UK. And notice also a significant change in our wind direction. So by the weekend, things will be markedly fresher for us all. Looking at Tuesday in a bit more detail then, cloudy with outbreaks of rain across the northern half of Scotland, but the rain doesn't look particularly heavy. Perhaps the odd spot of rain for Northern Ireland. Elsewhere, a lot of dry weather, generally bright across central southern parts of Scotland, some parts of northern England. Elsewhere, lots of sunshine, and with that sunshine, as I mentioned, temperatures likely to be a little bit higher than on Monday. Channel Islands getting to 30 Celsius, perhaps getting to just about 30 or 31 Celsius across some parts of central southern England. But further north, well, it's going to be a little bit fresher than this, but still feeling pretty warm in any sunshine. The winds aren't going to be particularly strong, generally quite light, especially away from any coastal parts. Looking now towards Wednesday. There will be more rain around across Scotland, Northern Ireland, a few outbreaks of rain perhaps for the far north of England and Wales. And some of these outbreaks of rain, well, they could be a bit heavy. You can't rule out a little bit of thunder, especially towards the northwest of Scotland. But for much of England and Wales and many parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, it is going to be dry, lots of sunshine yet again, and temperatures rising even further. 33, 34 Celsius looks quite likely in the south on Wednesday, and even further north we're getting temperatures in the mid, possibly even high 20s for some places. So feeling pretty hot, the warmth becoming more widespread, pushing its way northwards through this week. Now, one thing to bear in mind, Wednesday evening, well, it's the greatest solar eclipse that the UK will have experienced since 1999. Now, many people will be interested in knowing what the weather's going to be doing because cloud could obscure things, and that does look like it will be the case across parts of the northwest of Scotland. Quite cloudy here, outbreaks of rain, similar for western parts of Northern Ireland. Further east and south across Scotland and Northern Ireland, greater chance of seeing some breaks in the cloud. But for much of England and Wales, well, largely clear skies here, so giving a great view of this partial solar eclipse with 88 to 96% coverage, peaking around 7 to 7:15 p.m. depending on where you are in the country. Remember, never look directly at the sun, use a pinhole projector or certified eclipse glasses. Thursday in many ways looks quite similar to Wednesday. There will be showery rain, particularly towards the northwest. Could be heavy, could be thundery, perhaps a little bit less widespread than Wednesday, so largely confined to the northwest of Scotland. A few outbreaks for western Northern Ireland, but elsewhere across Scotland, eastern Northern Ireland and England and Wales, lots of dry weather. And then again for England and Wales, plenty of sunshine and temperatures rising even further. As I mentioned, Thursday looks set to be the hottest day of this week. 36, possibly 37 Celsius perhaps. Worth bearing in mind that where we get the highest temperatures, so central, southeastern areas, it's actually not going to be especially humid, definitely nowhere near as humid as, well, some of the heat waves that we've had earlier this summer, the June one, for example, when it was just so oppressive with the heat and the humidity. So that's good news. It is still going to be exceptionally hot with temperatures in the mid to high, possibly high 30s for some, and that hot air spreading even further northwards. So yes, high 20s possible across some parts of Scotland, even Northern Ireland getting to around 26, possibly 27 Celsius. But Thursday does look set to be the peak of the heat. Friday, a slight change in our wind direction, so things starting to turn a bit fresher. There'll probably be a bit more cloud around for England and Wales on Friday as well. A few spots of showery rain perhaps towards the west, but not many. It's really again across Scotland and Northern Ireland where you have the greater chance of seeing some showery rain pushing through. Doesn't look particularly heavy on the whole, but the odd heavier burst perhaps. Still hot in the southeast, 33, 34, and depending how quickly this change in wind direction and this showery theme comes in from the west, well, there's potential that it could still be very hot in parts of the southeast on Friday. So that's one to pay attention to. But at the moment, it does look like we'll start to see temperatures dropping off, perhaps more noticeable across western parts on Friday. Now, I did want to run through rainfall totals because, well, there really won't be a lot across many parts of England and Wales. Northern half of Scotland, yes, seeing some rain building up through this week, but even here, the totals don't look especially high when you factor in we're looking at 5 days of rain here. Across western parts of Northern Ireland, fairly wet at times. But apart from a few showery outbreaks across some western areas of England and Wales and across the north of England, it will be a bit wetter at times too. For many areas, yes, lots of dry weather. Not great news, especially because there's an ongoing drought in many places too. Looking ahead to this weekend, and Saturday's dry for most of England and Wales. Further north, showery rain here, and it will be a bit wet at times, but there should be some dry weather. As I mentioned, we have fresher air coming in, so it is going to be a little bit cooler for sure than it will have been, particularly on Thursday and perhaps Friday in the southeast. And then worth bearing in mind, there are some signs of wetter weather more widely by Sunday, but with this summer so far, we've often seen signs of something more unsettled, something wetter when we look 6-7 days in the future, and then it just never really happens. So it's one we'll be looking out for. Many people are desperate for that wetter weather to arrive, so hopefully it does from that point of view. But it's definitely not a guarantee at this stage. Of course, if you stick around and follow us on YouTube, you'll be up to date with everything. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.